At Arrowhead, we're focused on 3 pillars of diversity, equity, inclusion. It would be people, leadership, and diversity supplier. As it relates to people, that's where I get to talk about training. I do implicit bias, culture, cultural competent leadership. But then we move to leadership. That's like taking and building this top-down approach so that your CEO and your owner and your top-level people are committed and bought into the work of doing the strategy around D&I. And then we have diversity supplier, which is really for smaller organizations who are trying to think about how they can have a role in the work of D&I. Who are your vendors? Who are you working with? Are you thinking about women-owned businesses or veteran-owned businesses? So we really want to focus on those 3 areas in hopes that organizations really feel that they have some area or entry point into the work of diversity and inclusion. Typically, people are calling me because they want information. They want me to present about unconscious bias. They want me to talk about D&I 101 and what is the business case, as well as equity and making an equity-centered organization. That usually leads to strategy and understanding how all of these concepts fit into their strategic plan and how I can help create that framework for them. A lot of people understand the value of diversity, and they learn and know the value of inclusion. I think we're really starting to see a trend of people turning toward equity, and what does that look like, and how to address equity in an organization. I think people think that it's very touchy-feely, and that it's really about affecting a heart versus a mind. The biggest misstep I see is people just taking a bigger bite of the elephant than's necessary. What I would suggest is that people consider, well, let's start with recruitment. That's kind of the open door into your organization. Where are you recruiting? Are you thinking about looking outside of your regular sources like Indeed? Are you going to a place like Jopwell, which is very specific to African American and Latinx professionals who are in a variety of industries? Think about what your onboarding process is like. What is the feeling of your organization when you're bringing in someone across difference? Do they feel welcome? Do they see others that look like them? Do they have time and space to conversate with those people? Those are kind of the small bites that I think really make a culture more inclusive, more welcoming, and that's embracing D&I. And so it's really not as big as you think. It's not some large scale sweep and change. It can really be those small things that make a shift toward being a much more inclusive and welcoming culture. It's easy for people to think about diversity, right? It's just difference, visible difference across your organization. What I try to get people to think about is visible difference is incredible, and most people immediately think black-white. But there's so many other elements of visible diversity. There's ability, there's age, there's veteran status, there's immigrant, refugee. There's a variety of things that people should be thinking about when I say the word diversity. Inclusion is when you think about all of those things, how do they fit together? How do they mesh? How do they work? How productive are they? And equity is really addressing the disparity and the gaps between all of those varied differences and how we can limit that disparity so that everyone really is on an equal playing field. Ultimately, the goal is equality. That's what we're all striving for. So we use diversity, equity, inclusion as the vehicle in order to get to equality. One aha moment that I've had most recently is when I'm working with CEOs and leaders of organizations. What I love is when I'm not the only one having to bring up issues around diversity, equity, inclusion. When it's the white, straight male who says, let's think about this differently. Are we thinking about this from the right perspective? It's those situations that are the best, most incredible aha moments for me, because I know something I'm talking about is sticking and they're implementing that work into truly changing the culture for their organization.